Good afternoon. It's been a week or more since I did a sharing, and I wanted to share because, like always, things have been in my heart, and when my heart speaks to me, unlike when my mind speaks to me, when my heart speaks to me, I listen. And I realized that I've had so much fun. I've had if I could do the math once again, 22 plus 35, 750, 257 half-hour sharings I've done to date. This will be the 257th. And maybe it's sinking in that to attract more attention, to hopefully get more people to listen, to entertain, to listen, to be entertained maybe by my sharings. That I shouldn't just pick titles that appeal to me. I've had a lot of fun, I have to admit. It comes by an inspiration, and everything starts with a title. And maybe my titles aren't catchy enough. I don't know, but the question came to mind, came from my heart, who am I here to please? And apparently please myself, because I've always pretty much done whatever it is that I either was wanted to or called to do. And I took both of them in equally the same spirit of acceptance. But today's sharing I wanted to call heart, because heart's been on my mind. Not only because of my own open heart surgery 8 years ago. Recently celebrated the 8th year anniversary of that open heart and aortic valve replacement procedure that I survived. And heart, well, because heart is where our love is, and I'm wearing, look, all these bracelets were recently made for me by Colleen, my better half, my wife, my love. And because I'd revisited, from time to time I revisit, not only reflect, but I revisit because maybe I need a refresher course or a reminder. We're talking about chakras, the 7 chakras, where the kundalini, this flow that you need to make sure it's clear, consistent, that you don't have blockages in any of the 7 centers that would interfere with this reception from the crown chakra to the root chakra, which goes down through the legs and stand on the earth, and this is your roots. Your roots must be firmly planted, just as this connection to the 1,000-petaled lotus blossom, the crown chakra, which is above, where this comes in, passes kundalini, the energy, kriya, as kriya yogas call it, kriya, chi in Chinese, the life force, the energy can go through clearly. So with the bracelets, sacral, the number 2 chakra, which color is orange, is something that I need to work on. That's my energy. That's our energy generating. In addition to the urge to reproduce, the continuity of life, the energy of life is from this. So I work on my energy. I've been reminded this green is the heart chakra, which reminds me to replace any kind of judgment, any kind of hierarchy of importance in terms of humanity, who's more important than whom. But basically it's about practicing compassion, unconditional love, the bhakti yoga, the practice of bhakti yoga. So that's the green. And over here I have the obsidian, the black. And the black is how to, energy comes in through the left and leaves through the right. So there's horizontal energy, if I put my arms out horizontally, and there's vertical energy. There's the cross, isn't it? The cross of Jesus, the chakras of the Christ, is the two energies, from above to below, from the crown to the root, from the left, receptive. This is the hand of reception. This is the hand of departure. So things come in this way. And nourishment and the things that you need, the things that add to who you are and the work that you're doing, you keep, and the rest you learn to transfer. And this black is a reminder, the obsidian, I believe it's obsidian, is a reminder to let the energy, the negative energy, come out. I'm very, very receptive, way too receptive to energies. So when I get around an over energetic person, and I don't mean just a negative person, which isn't good, of course. We spend as little time with negativity and negative people as possible. We give them our love and then we move on. We move on. But sometimes too much energy comes in and I'm not good at protecting myself from this excess of energy that I'm so receptive to. I'm just a receptacle. And as a receptacle fills, you need to empty it sometimes. So this is a simple reminder that to let that energy come in, keep what I need, and let the other go harmlessly into the universe. And one of the signposts, my wife does all her work online. She does all her work at computer and her playtime. She has an interest in games, and she likes to watch other gamers play, more advanced, better gamers play games that she enjoys. And she also uses the internet, much as I do, for inspiration, for music to accompany her yoga, music to help her work on her chakras. I do find music helpful, especially music that specifically resonates with the sound of each chakra. And by listening to, you can feel if there's blockage. You can feel where you might need work. You can feel where you remember to look. So this is the heart I'm talking about. And I was also hoping that if I title a message, a sharing heart, maybe it'll attract us some more attention. My video with the most hits, interesting enough, was called The Golden Vessel. And I had 25, 30, 50 times more response to this. Was it the title? Was it timing? Was it somebody passed it on? I don't know. But a lot of hits on that particular. And let's go with heart. And as I said, just past the anniversary of my own heart surgery. talking about the green of the heart chakra, and the work that it remind me, bhakti yoga, to be compassionate, to be loving, to be giving at all times without expectations of either return or even thanks. I found myself kind of stuck with, well, they didn't even thank me. And that's when I know I need work, because a selfless deed, something that you did from love, needs no thanks. The thanks you get is in the pleasure of doing it. And that should be enough. But if I'm like, oh, didn't get thanked, I can laugh now because I'm back with the heart, refocusing, reestablishing this contact. And one of the things I wanted to address, I've talked ad infinitum about my natural that I just had. It just always attracted me. I didn't need an impetus. I didn't need a push. I didn't need to reach my wit's end. I didn't need to experience tragedy. I didn't need, it doesn't mean I haven't. All of the above. I check all those boxes. But I didn't need anything to get me on this journey. I was born. My first breath was awareness of returning to whence I came. To feel whole. To remember all that I had forgotten. So this was the impetus. It was just with my first breath, the first beat of my heart, independent of my mother's womb. It's so interesting. Today I was born in a hospital, like most of those that I'm talking to, and into bright light. So the trauma of total darkness to bright, total warmness, total immersion to exposure. And it's interesting to me, recently I talked about Baby Buddha, or I went back and reviewed my own 62 plus Baby Buddha. Go check it out. I like that one. But talking about the same experiences, but this is a conscious experience of the probably subconscious experience we have of being born. How did we feel at that time? I re-experienced this after my abiding, my permanent awakening, my words fail me here. My initiation into Buddhahood. But so I consciously had an opportunity to relive the same experience that I must have recalled subconsciously. And I was thinking of how could I appeal to more people? How could I suggest those of you, at least if you have enough interest, to look on spiritual messages, to listen, to look, unless you stumbled across it by happenstance, and if that's so, welcome. I'll take it. But I mentioned Adyashanti and Sadhguru are two people that have consistently provided, that helped me along my way. So whoever it is, Paramahamsa Yogananda was my first introduction, but he passed the physical form in 1952. Both Adyashanti and Sadhguru are with us to this day. So there's something about a living master. Listening, there's something about someone that's in the body and teaching instead of receiving from out of the body experience. So whatever it is, I encourage you to nurture it. And I think maybe a lot of us get bored. I'm seldom bored because I'm enthralled by the I'm enthralled by the complexity and simplicity simultaneously. The non-dualistic view of the complexity and the simplicity of the chaos and the order of the world around me. So seldom get bored, but I was thinking that boredom, I just was listening to music for inspiration. John Prine, who I was introduced recently, I don't know how, I love wordsmiths. I love Bob Dylan is number one, or Leonard Cohen is right there with them. People who use words so beautifully. And I wasn't able to discover, for whatever reason, John Prine, who was my contemporary. He died this year, I believe, at 70, and I'm 72, so that's pretty much, he's a contemporary, but only this year, he was still with us, but only this year, for some reason, I found his music and I just loved it. So I read something he said about one of the lyrics in a song. He said, then your heart gets bored with your mind and it changes you. That boredom. It's quite easy to get bored with ourselves, especially when you've been around for 72 years. Nothing new, huh? So boredom might be the impetus, might be the push. You're bored, so you start looking, and it's your heart that's talking to you. So what I want to stop and share with you is look to who you listen to. Do you listen to the mind to tell you what to do, why to do it, what you should, the conditional tense, should have, could have, would have? Is it from the mind? Or do you listen to the pure? Because this will be misleading, because it's the source of the egoic self. And only after you can discard any connection, any investment in this false creation, this Maya, this false creation of your mind and the sense of self. The sense of self comes from your mind. You can count on it. This diversion is to keep you from looking within. It's to drown out the heart. So if you're already listening to your heart, I'm sure a lot of you are. If you listen to the heart, I'm kind of a methodical, in some ways, rational man. I always evaluate. I started looking at the experiences when I listened to my heart, I arrived at about an 80 percentile of correctness, at least the view that I had at the time. 80%. And then I looked at what my mind cooked up, and at best it was 20%. So as just a practical man, as a logical man, as a man of logistics, a man what practice what works. So should I choose the heart that's batting 800, to put it in baseball parlance, or go with the 200 of the mind? Well, it was a no-brainer. See, no brain. Get rid of the brain. And then I had to wrestle with that question of, well, we're given fine minds, so we just don't want to discard them. And I started learning that my mind was a tool to find, process, sort, file, store for future reference. information that would become knowledge. Whatever information didn't add to knowledge, discard, read knowledge. Now knowledge goes up a step to wisdom. So let's hang on to what's wise. This was my hierarchy. This was my Maslow's pyramid of survival. Hang on to wisdom. And the funny thing was, my mind is a fine tool. It's perfect for this. As I'm stuck for my word again. As a source of decision-making, behavior, this mind, this is just, it creates the ego. But to use it the way, I used it the way I chose to use it, and I'm hoping that I'm encouraging you that it's not about silencing the mind, ignoring the mind, getting past the mind. Even the noise of the mind, the monkey mind, it's all here. What we learn is not to value it. We learn to laugh at ourselves. We learn to recognize the sneaky egoic tendrils trying to get their little grasp, get back, get us again. Desperate for the power of control. So, learn to utilize your mind however you see fit. Use it, and you'll find that it's a tool, a great tool for chosen applications. So the choice of how you apply your mind necessitates some kind of understanding. I can't say control your mind, but understanding how to utilize it in a positive, constructive way. So maybe it's boredom. Maybe you're watching this because you're bored. And maybe it's boredom. Your heart is sending a message to your mind that it's boring, that thoughts, that this endless cycle of trying to reestablish the ego, this desperate, it's out of desperation, because the ego does not want to be either recognized for what it is, or more importantly, what it isn't. It is of no import. For me, it's a source of mirth, because I still pop in and I just, good try, I gotcha. Quick on the uptake. Other days, I'm quick on the uptake, and sometimes not so quick on the outtake, because I have a filter that processes, a processing filter that's somehow between here and here. And I had to learn it's still a work in progress, because I still have the tendency, what's here comes out here, with no pause. So there's always work to do. I told you I was working on working on the chakras, getting that kundalini going, working on the taking in and letting out. One of the telltale signs that when I'm around someone with too much energy, that I'm too receptive, is I come home and I'm a motor mouth. I talk too much. My wife has told me she's sitting still in her office, quiet most of the time, and I come in and she said, calm down. Either she'll say, calm down, or she'll bite my head off, depending on how annoying I am at any given moment, and how overwhelming my energy is. So she made this, get it out, let it go, let go. And while I was talking about John Prine, I got this from his Old Men Sleep with Their Conscious at Night. Young kids sleep with their dreams, while the mentally ill sit perfectly still and live through life's in-betweens. So I'm definitely, I must be mentally ill because I'm definitely in that third category. I sit perfectly still and live life through, I live through life's in-betweens. It's the time between breaths. It's the times between heartbeat. This is be here now. So this is Zen, the Zen training. So sit perfectly still. The mentally ill sit perfectly still. I sit perfectly still for hours at a time in my chair over here. I've got music over there, my inspirational, my meditation music over there. I sit here. But I bring this up because in Taiwan it's been called Ghost Month. It's called Ghost Month this time of the year. And it's about something about this time of year. Somehow somebody lets the ghosts out. So the ghosts who are usually in their own realm, now they're free to be all about. And they have, a lot of superstition go with this. But it must be, there's some, behind every superstition, there's some basis, right? Some commonality in human behavior that developed a superstition. So this ghost month thing has been heavy for me because my conscience, the things that I'm less than happy, and there are many, with my own behavior, my shortcomings, my failures in my life that I've lived to date. And all these things that coming up on Ghost Month, really, really intense. And the theme, the common theme each night is it's going to be about some person or some situation or something that I could have done a better job than I did. So it's a conscience. But I'm trying to recapture, and I don't like this during this Ghost Month. I hope we're most of the way through it, and it'll be interesting to see if there's a connection. I believe there's always a connection. So it'll be interesting to see as this is petering out. The Ghost Month is only 3 weeks. It's a Chinese month, based on the lunar calendar, by the way. July in the lunar calendar, which somehow is now September. In the Gregorian calendar, the calendar of the West. So it'd be interesting to see. But anyway, that just hit me hard. Thanks, John. All men sleep with their conscious at night. Young kids sleep with their dreams, while the mentally ill sit perfectly still and live through life's in-betweens. So those three categories, and I'm an old man, number one. I'm a child at heart so that I can still have dreams, still be entertained, still am not jaded enough that I've given up on dreaming. But most of my time is spent sitting perfectly still. The mentally ill. I know this is poetic license because it rhymes, but I know by some standards, by my rejection of materialism, my disinterest in power, my disinterest in being in the limelight, my disinterest in feeling important, my complete absorption of my extraordinary ordinariness. I'm extraordinarily ordinary, and I take enjoyment comes from appreciating my ordinariness. So all these things, the things that motivate most people, money, possessions, power, possessive love, I won't call it love, but possessive love. Praise, recognition, accomplishments, all these things have never have appealed to me. So probably there'd be many who would look at this as shortcomings on my part and consider that, wow, anyone that doesn't care about money and accomplishment and accumulation must be mentally ill. So perhaps guilty as charged. But the messages here are strong. If you're bored with your mind, it's your heart, perhaps it's your heart. Learn to listen. It takes an inner ear, doesn't it? To listen. We always talk about third eye, I talked about fourth eye, but I also talk about the third ear that's somewhere close to the heart so that there's nothing muffling. There's nothing interfering with the message from the heart. So if your heart's trying to tell you, if you're bored with thinking, bored with your mind, bored with your egoic grasping, clinging, bored with your fears, bored with your jealousies. If you find yourself bored, perhaps I might be so bold as to suggest that that message is coming from your heart, and only you have the ability to sort. Only you can determine the source of your boredom. Pay attention, listen, love, be, remember.